they kept saying they won the trade because they got all these guys like Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs and all these guys through the trade. And I'm like, well, we won a Super Bowl right away. We get Stafford and we win immediately, and we're still going to the playoffs. And
ladies and gentlemen, today's episode, we're kicking off the offseason the right way, in a big way. We're having a man on, a super fan. It's in his name, LA Rams super fan. You can find him at that handle across all social medias as TikTok, Instagram. Now here on YouTube because he's here with us. And now even on Blue Sky as well. He is somebody that my friends watch more than my own stuff. He's all over the place, reacting, giving news, updates, games, injuries, anything Rams under the sun. Make sure you give him a follow. Give a big welcome to LA Rams superfan. What's up, dog?
What's going on, Tuna? Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I know we've been talking the last couple weeks about getting on an episode together, and I really appreciate you bringing me on.
Dude, of course. I wanted to start the offseason in a way with with somebody that faces are going to recognize if you're like addicted to social media and Rams content like I am. And I'm not making that up. Like seriously, the other day when I posted that, hey, LA Rams super fans coming on, we're gonna talk some offseason stuff. Had 3 friends text me. They all watch your stuff. Like they all recognize you from TikTok.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, you guys don't even give me this same love from my own friends. I was like, damn. But no, man. I start off every episode. I put everybody on the hot seat. I like to get very political here on this podcast. So you are here in LA as well. Give me one banging food spot that you just are going to recommend to anybody that's coming into LA. Give me some food spot.
My spot is El Torino off Hoover. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's just a taco spot, and they have some of the best carne asada tacos in town.
Okay.
It's simple, but it does the spot, or it does the trick.
I'm more of a if it's not on a street corner, those are the tacos I love. I will walk into an establishment. But you heard it here first. LA Rams superfan, El Torito. And where's that located at? The one that you like going to?
Yeah, El Torino. It's off of Hoover, so right outside of downtown there.
And Hoover. All right, I'm about to give him a shout out. Give him a check.
It's great late night spot. I'll just say that.
That is a deal breaker for me. Like if they're not open until like 2 a.m. just slinging tacos, it's like, hey, what are we doing? Like you need something late night. I love that.
For sure.
Something I don't love here in LA, and we're just gonna jump right into it. Like the main point that we're talking about today is everything off season. Like we were gonna dip our toes into the water when we're kind of you and I were collaborating, figuring out what are we gonna talk about. Like, oh, what do we do with Kupp? What do we do with Stafford? How do we build around those guys? Well, we kind of got our answer. You're rocking a Cooper Kupp jersey in memory or honor. I got an old one for you. I got a throwback.
Oh, I like that. Those are hard to find now. Yeah.
So yeah, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Cooper Kupp news. You did a great reel, 1 or 2 recently on the situation. Obviously breaking the news when Cooper Kupp announced that he is being traded actively by the Los Angeles Rams. Break it down for us, man. Like, I'm too heartbroken to talk about it. So,
yeah. Look, I understand both sides of everything. As a fan, I am absolutely devastated. Cooper Kupp's our guy. He came in 2017 in the 3rd round, the same year that Sean McVay was hired. So he's been here through all of the success that we've had back in LA, and it's obviously painful. It's going to feel so weird. It's going to be very sad to see him in another uniform next season. And, up until a few weeks ago, I thought he was going to be a Rams lifer, but, I started kind of seeing the writing on the wall. And, I understand that it's a business decision at the end of the day. So if you go back to, I think it was like week 8, he, there were trade rumors popping up when we had a 1-4 record, 1-4, 2-4 record, something like that. And, At first I thought that was like just media, overreacting, I didn't really think too much about it, but then I started thinking about it more and I realized that I believe that Les Snead and the Rams were listening to offers, maybe not actively shopping him, but like listening to offers and just didn't see or didn't find any offer that was worth pursuing or accepting at that time. So they just went through the rest of the season. And then I noticed over our last 5 games, including the playoffs, he was averaging like 3 targets a game, and just was slowly getting phased out of the game plan. And then when we lost to the Eagles, he had a post being like, "I'm definitely playing next season, but I don't know. I want it to be in LA. I just don't know where." So I started kind of telling people right after that, like, "Oh, there's about a 50 greater than 50-50 chance that he will be playing on a different team next season." So I've already kind of saw this coming over the last like 3 weeks or so. I just kind of had a feeling that we were going to make a change, and it as like I said, as a fan, it's painful and it's devastating. From a business perspective, it does make sense. I was just kind of looking at the numbers, and for next season, he has a
Yep.
$29.7 million cap hit, which is top five, top 10 money for a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be realistic here. He's missed 18 games over the last 3 seasons. Since we won the Super Bowl, he's missed a combined 18 games, and that's more than a full regular season.
Yep.
And he just over the last 2 years or so, he just hasn't been the same explosive wide receiver that we've been used to seeing for so long. So, and then I saw that if the Rams trade him before June 1st, we'll open up $12.5 million in cap space. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
this is a business decision. It's nothing personal against Cooper Kupp. It's nothing like, oh, it's nothing like that. Maybe he's very upset about it, understandably so. But it's just I think the team looks at it as like he's getting paid a lot of money. He can't stay healthy, and if we're gonna compete next season and for multiple years to come, we gotta get younger maybe at that position and build around Puka. But it's tough. I see both sides. As a fan, I'm devastated. I wear his jersey almost every week. I have multiple Cooper Kupp T-shirts, and it's
Extremely devastating.
yeah,
You're absolutely right. Like honestly, I could not have said any of that any better. I
yeah,
don't want to regurgitate too much, but you're right. If they trade him before June 1st, 12.5 million that are going to end up saving, that helps a lot. I know.
yeah.
I think I saw last night. I got to find the post again, but I think they are willing to eat a lot of his cap to find a better trade partner. And you
Hmm.
can look at it one of two ways. One, um, people who are not Rams fans see it as, oh man, what the hell happened out there? Like,
Right,
what's going on?
right.
I view it like I'm always going to trust Snead and McVay. Like they've given
Yeah,
us too much positive to
yeah.
think otherwise. It
Hmm.
hurts, yes, but from a financial perspective, and then maybe that's their one good way of like, hey, I know this hurts, but if we're willing to eat a lot of the cap, that will open up the gates for more trade partners because
Hmm.
more championship contending teams are going to have less
Right.
trade capital, less cap space to take on his full salary cap for a guy who is going to, he's over 30. Like you said, he's injury prone. But now, if the Rams are willing to eat some of it as a last, hey, thank you, Cooper, on his way out the door, now a
Hmm.
team like a Baltimore, a Detroit, a Kansas City, it sucked to see him go win a championship somewhere else,
Right.
not hearing the horns. But that could be them saying, hey, we're willing to work something out, literally for our guy.
For
Um,
sure.
what does Snead always say? If it's inevitable, make it immediate. I hate that,
Yeah.
but it has worked so far. Like they win
Hmm.
games and they have this process. But
Yeah.
even if there is something that like transpires super quickly, like look at Ernest Jones, we still don't know why
Yeah.
exactly
I
he
know.
got traded, and we will never know. They're very good at keeping everything under
Yeah.
wraps. Um,
Yeah.
where do you Yeah, it's you got to be able to separate those two, the financial, like the business side and the emotional side. Our front office does it amazingly,
Yeah.
and it hurts so much And the only thing I'll add to what you said before I ask you this next question is Cooper Kupp kind of embodies everything that we do love about this
Yeah.
McVay era. Like
Hmm.
returning here, like starting small in a big Los Angeles market. We go kind of under the radar in media. Like we
Hmm.
don't get talked about as much as you think so. The identity of the offense, like the grittiness, the willingness to run block. Like he'll go 0 catches and be happily run blocking every single game. Like he'll put his ego to the side, and that is the identity of this Rams team under McVay. And now that's leaving, and that really hurts.
Yeah.
My question to you is, where do you see him going, and what do you think the Rams get back in return, if
Yeah. So,
anything more than a washing machine like they tend to
yeah.
do?
Yeah. I mean, never hold it against Les Snead to trade a guy like that for a seventh round pick swap and a bag of unsalted chips. But I
Not
think it just comes,
unsalted.
yeah, I think it just comes down to what, how much cap the Rams are willing to, or how much of his contract they're willing to eat up. If they say, hey, we'll eat like half of his contract, maybe you could get like a third round pick. I think that's kind of wishful thinking, to be honest. With his age and his injury history and his large contract, I don't think we'll get any more than like a sixth round pick. At least that's, I'm setting up my expectations for that. Um, there's a lot of teams that'll be interested. I've seen fans of the like the Steelers, the Lions, the Ravens too, the Bears, pretty much any team that's either a playoff contender or close to being a playoff contender being interested. But I think it just comes down to money. And one thing I wanted to point out that I didn't say in my last part is that what I noticed with the Rams is they tend to trade guys like a year early. And what I mean by that is they'll move off of guys like maybe a year before they start, fully breaking down. So like we moved off of Todd Gurley early. We moved off of Jalen Ramsey a little bit early. We moved off of Robert Woods about a year early. I think they just, rather than have it kind of continue to get worse, they just, I guess, rip the band-aid off early, even if it kind
Oh
of
yeah.
doesn't always end on the best of terms. They're willing to move off a little bit early to get more in return, if that makes sense.
Oh no, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's even fair because obviously we don't like. I would love to be a fly on the wall
I know, me
in
too.
Snead's office for any one of these conversations, but I almost feel it's fair to say that maybe this is something that if it was anybody besides Cooper Kupp, like if a la another Robert Woods, somebody not as cornerstone of their franchise as Cooper
Right.
Kupp, this probably happens last year, or they even like I'm completely talking out of my ass, obviously, because I don't know. Um,
I don't know. And this is just
so
my speculation as well. Like you,
yeah,
I'm just a fan. This is stuff that I kind of just think about and how I believe that these kind of things go down.
yeah, I got some good questions about fans of other teams too. You kind of mentioned a few guys, but another guy I want to ask you about. I got some flack. I posted on Reddit yesterday
Okay.
about when Matthew Stafford announced, like, it felt like the next day, like after we lost the Eagles. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely coming back." Like his the up in the air about will he retire, will he not? We didn't have any of that. He was just like, "Yeah, I'm playing." Cool.
Mhm.
I was 100% confident he's going to be LA Rams quarterback. I posted asking people about how they felt with the Cooper Kupp news in mind. Not of like Stafford doesn't want to be here if Cooper Kupp's not here, but from this front office and that's that same point of them moving on from guys early. Do you think they're fully, behind Matthew Stafford, that this is his team?
Yeah.
Are you worried at all that hey maybe they're shopping him? Because I don't feel comfortable at all
Yeah.
right now. So I need you to kind of make me feel better.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not in these conversations. Again, like I said earlier, I'm just a fan, just kind of trying to gauge how I see the situation based off what I see. And I personally would be absolutely shocked if the Rams were to move off of Matthew Stafford right now. The Cooper Kupp news was not surprising to me. I've kind of seen it coming for a few weeks now. But Matthew Stafford, I would be absolutely shocked. And the reason being is despite moving off of Cooper Kupp, we are still in win now mode. And there is no other quarterback anywhere else who could come in right now and do exactly what Stafford does or better. And on the flip side, I don't think there's a situation with another team that Stafford could go into and it be better than the Rams situation. So I think it's mutually beneficial for both sides to give it another go for at least another season. Because, like, I've heard the Steelers, the Raiders, the Giants, like, none of those teams are Super Bowl ready right now. And for us, we're like four pieces, in my opinion, we're like four pieces away from like really being the cream of the crop in the NFC. I believe all we need is a new lockdown corner, a middle linebacker, and another tackle or two, left tackle, right tackle, depending on what Rob Havenstein and Alaric Jackson do, and then another wide receiver. And I believe that's all we need to be one of the top teams in the NFC. And if we bring in like a rookie quarterback, or if we bring in like a bridge quarterback, like a Jimmy G or like a Sam Darnold, I don't think we are Super Bowl contenders with those guys. So, moral of the story is our best chance to win right now is with Matthew Stafford. And I think he knows that. I think the team knows that. And so I feel good. I think what it comes down to is, I looked at QB contracts, and in the 2024 season, Matthew Stafford was like the 15th or 16th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So he was like middle of the pack. And he's like a top seven guy, you know?
Yeah,
And
he wants that guaranteed top seven money, like
right.
deservedly.
Right, of course. And I believe he has no more guaranteed money. He has 2 years left on his current deal, but he has no more guaranteed money left. So I think what's going to happen
Correct.
is it'll probably happen after we trade Cooper Kupp is they'll come to an agreement on a new 2-year deal. I'm thinking something like 2 years, 100 million. So he'll get paid like 50 million each year for the next two
Yep.
years with a lot of guaranteed money up front. And we'll kind of go year by year where I think he'll for sure play 2025 and then we'll reevaluate after next season. Again, I have no inside sources, but this is just my prediction of what I think is going to happen because there's no better situation for both sides, if they were to move on that I can
Oh
see
no.
right now.
And I'll reiterate, like I in no way want Stafford to ever play anywhere else. Like
Right.
I even since his rookie year in Detroit, like me not being a Detroit fan and just being a pure football lover,
Hmm.
Matthew Stafford is the last, I'd say the last like real authentic gunslinger in the league.
Right. Right.
Aaron Rodgers after his injury, like he can be considered part of that generation. Kirk Cousins a little bit just because of his age, but
Yeah.
like that is the last true
Yeah.
gunslinger.
Right.
I
Right.
absolutely love what he does. I don't care if he throws only 10 touchdowns next season, but he's still the best quarterback here because of the things that he does. He puts his players in positions to win games, and I absolutely love Matthew Stafford. My question was more of like, I hope they're not gonna mistreat Stafford and move him on. So
Yeah.
like, you made me feel better. You made me feel better.
I
So okay.
mean, yeah, I guess there's always a chance. I mean, I was shocked when we traded Jalen Ramsey. Looking back, I realized it was
I
probably the
was,
right move, but at the
yeah.
time I was really devastated. Same thing with Robert Woods. Again, just it is so hard to find a franchise quarterback. Look at the 49ers, how many quarterbacks they've cycled through. Look at all these other, mid-level to bottom tier teams who have cycled through quarterbacks. Look at the Rams before, we
Before McVay.
before McVay, how many quarterbacks we went through. It's like it is so hard to find a franchise QB, and I understand that we have to think of life after Stafford very soon, but I think we are in a short window of time right now where we have a legit shot, even without Cooper Kupp, a legit shot
Hmm.
at winning another Super Bowl. And if Matthew Stafford goes somewhere else, then we're basically just going into rebuild mode, in my opinion. So
We're tanking for Manning with like 5 other teams possibly
right,
at that
right.
point.
And
Uh,
I think we're
go ahead.
right there. I think with our defensive line, we're gonna, if we, like I said, if we get a new lockdown corner, a new middle linebacker, we're gonna have a top 10 defense already because these guys we have up
So
front
excited.
yeah,
So
are
excited. Yeah.
absolute menaces. And we need another wide receiver, and there's a couple things on offense to improve, but like
You
we were
you're hitting
14.
you're hit
Yeah.
dude, you're hitting on perfect spots. So before we jump into the whole roster, like we both have a list of guys we want to bring back, free agents, trades, even like 1 or 2 draft guys. Um, as a kind of little break in between, since that was a lot of stuff we just went over, I want to
Yeah,
ask you something on the social media side. Since you
sure.
post daily, so people who are like unfamiliar, we just dove right into the Ram stuff. People are unfamiliar with your stuff right now. You post daily, and I have to give credit for anybody, whether it's you or anybody else in any team, who can do daily, because I can't do it. Like, I don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
I don't have the attention span. Like, I squirrel, like I'm off somewhere else. I can try to keep weekly, and I struggle with
Yeah.
that sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, Other teams' fans, because you do a great job. Like, you'll call some shots on some other teams,
Yeah.
especially Niners fans.
Yeah.
Is there a fan base that you absolutely like? You just roll your eyes every time you're like, you get the most shit from them? Is there a fan base?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of 49er fans that follow me, and they're quiet when we're winning. But like the moment we lose a game, they come out of the woodworks and just start talking trash. Like when we lost to the Eagles, like they were silent. So when we beat them, I think it was week 15, and I
Mhm.
said, "Oh, we just ended your season. No more playoffs for you guys. You guys are finished. Like, go make your Cancun arrangements." And then they were quiet. They're like, "Yeah, we suck this year." All of a sudden, we lose to the Eagles in the playoffs. They come out of nowhere and just start talking trash. They're like, and I'm like, first off, where were you guys the last 5 weeks? Secondly, you guys have no room to talk because you guys finished last in the division. Um, and then they're like, oh, it's injuries, that kind of stuff. I also have dealt with a lot of Lions fans over the last year or so.
What is with them? Why do they hate us so
Yeah.
much right now? Ever since we got
So
Stafford, like,
it it for me it all started when they beat us in the wild card game last year.
yeah,
And I guess it started with the Kirby Joseph hit on Higby, which I know is technically legal, but I thought it was a low blow.
yep,
And it started with that, and then it started with them just kind of disrespecting Stafford and his wife. And I understand it was like a big deal for them because it was their first home playoff game in 3 years. But like Stafford did so much for that team for so long, and even still to this day gives back to the community. And they were just disrespecting him, saying like, talking about just talking all this trash about him. And, you know, they kept saying they won the trade because they got all these guys like Sam Laporta and Jameer Gibbs and all these guys through the
try
trade. And
to
I'm like, well,
try
we
to
won a
redeem them.
Super Bowl right away. We get Stafford and we win immediately, and we're still going to the playoffs. And
Yeah,
they got in their heads a little too much over this past year. I think they're not used to winning at this level, and they didn't know how to act. They were trying to be like Philly too much, but at least Philly can back it up. And
that's true.
you
Yeah,
know they kept telling me that Jared Goff is better, and it's like no disrespect to Jared Goff, but he was kind of holding us back for a while, and
we've
that's their
seen two different skill sets, and yeah, I
yeah
won't even. That's the Stafford versus Goff debate. That's like, if it almost, for Rams and Lions fans, that feels like the Michael Jordan versus LeBron conversation in any
right
barbershop. Like,
right
no one's going to agree on it ever, it seems like. But recency bias, you feel like, is the biggest thing, and I got to agree. It's like
yeah
a lot of them have just completely forgotten, the 12, 13 years that he gave to them,
right
and he asked on his way out, and it's like, after you've gone through 13 rebuilds, you just, I don't want to go
right
through number 14. Like, that's understandable. And uh, yeah,
it's
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with
yeah.
you.
But ever since they lost to the Commanders, they've gotten a little more humble. And I just I kept telling him for a year. And again, I don't want to trash Goff because I like the guy, but I just said that, like, I don't believe that Goff is going to deliver a Super Bowl for you guys. And they kept saying that I was like a hater. And I was just being honest, giving my opinion. And what we saw in the playoffs was, 3 interceptions and a fumble by him. And anyway, so I dealt with a lot of back and forth with them for over the last year too. But it's mostly 49er fans and a little bit of Seahawks fans. But I'm like, you guys got Geno Smith as your quarterback, and as long as he's there, you guys aren't going to do much. So it's just fun little banter. I mean, it's nothing serious, but I would
Well,
say those are the things.
I for one, I will lead the delegation of Rams fan. I hope that us and whoever is the Lions ambassador, we can come to agreement
Yeah,
to root for each other again. 'Cause I do like golf.
for
I like
sure.
watching the Lions. I think this is the first time they've ever had coordinators like poached
Yeah,
before, so they're going through a lot of stuff there. But kind of getting back to just Ram stuff. Thank you
for
for
sure.
giving me that insight.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries.
you started pointing out some positions and key needs that's really going to dictate on who we bring back. Like I've got my hard list of who I absolutely think is a no brainer to resign. One of
Hmm.
which being Bobby Brown. Anybody, almost anybody on that D line. There's something cooking there. Like there's a lot of
Yeah,
cohesion outside of
hmm,
stats and numbers and anything scheme wise. You can really sense that these guys like rock with each other. Like these dudes
right,
love each other. Like that room is a brotherhood. I don't want to touch that. That's Bobby
right.
Brown, Michael Hoyt, even down to I'm drawing a blank on his name, Gallimore, Murchison.
Yeah,
I
Gallimore.
want
Yeah,
I want both those guys. I want all of them back. Hopefully, it doesn't have to make your money, but hopefully, it doesn't take all of our cap space because
yeah.
we need some help on offense. Um, I'm going to list a few guys here. I want your
Okay.
take on if you think they come back or not. No boom.
No,
No.
no. See, I know he was kind of supposed to be the heir apparent to Andrew Whitworth, but he can't stay healthy, and two, he's just very inconsistent. There are some games where he looks really good, and some games where he gets cooked. So I say
That's fair.
just move on.
That's fair. Bobby Brown.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of those that I'm like, if for the right deal, like I don't want to overpay, but like if we can come to an agreement on both sides, then definitely, because he brings a lot of energy. He's a good locker room guy. He's a good player too, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think he adds to the run stop because next to next to Fisk and even like Kobe Turner a little bit, like he's definitely
Yeah,
brings some like big bear
yeah,
energy. I like him a lot.
definitely, definitely.
Here's one I'm kind of torn on. I think it really depends. What about Jackson? What about Alaric?
Alec Jackson, I say absolutely. He has been really good for us. I know he was suspended the first 2 games of the season last year, which we still never heard why that was. But
Yeah,
when other than that, he can stay healthy, which on an offensive line, if you have guys who can stay healthy all the time, that's important. And he's really every year just improved. So I would make it a priority. That's like he's at the top of my guys to re-sign is Alaric Jackson.
him coming back or not really dictates what I think we do with trades,
Right.
free agency, the draft. Because I'm kind of torn. Like I could see him absolutely asking for top 10 money, which you can make the argument for. Like he
Yeah.
is a very good, almost underrated left tackle. I think a lot of people fall in love with, hey, if you're not, you know, Trent Williams, if you're not like one of those big name guys that people think you can upgrade, like almost as tough as quarterbacks, like it's hard to find a consistent, good left tackle to protect your blind side. And
Right.
he's very
Right.
good. Um, I think they absolutely should bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to
100%.
depend on the negotiations. I don't know how they're going to go. To be honest,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see
I
I can
mean,
see him testing the market for sure.
yeah, because I forgot what it was called, but we got like a team friendly 1 year deal on him last off season because I believe he was a free agent last year. He had like I don't know what it was, but he had like a 1 year option, and the Rams picked it up. But I just think especially with Stafford still being our QB, or at least I'm confident he's going to be. we need guys who can protect him, keep him up, and he's very important for that. And so that's why he is at the top of my like 100% bring back type of guys as our free agents.
So the rough number, what it would cost to re-sign him for top-ish money, about top five, if they can't come to an agreement and they decide that, hey, this is our guy, if they franchise tag him, which is always an option, um, it would cost about 20.9 million. And that's just based on
That's,
offensive line. I'm not sure if it dictates if it flows on tackle guard based on the tag, but this is from just CBS Sports.
right.
So it's about $20 million if they decide they do want him, which is sizable. Like that's a big chunk.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk.
Well,
So
I'll just kind of piggyback. I know we haven't gotten into trades yet, but the Jonah Jackson signing last offseason was not a good one for us. And if we could
it's
find a way to, oh no, I know I'm kind of getting ahead, but if we can find a way to trade him and open up some cap space that might help to re-sign Alaric Jackson, I just wanted to kind of,
no, yeah, that dude, that's another situation where we will never know because it's not just the injury thing, and then with oh my god, what's it? Limmer like
yeah,
outplaying him and earning the starting job the rest of the season. But the fact that he struggled right before the season and they were going to mix over Avila at center
yeah,
instead, it just seems so rushed and last second. I at least from when we were hearing it, um, it's one of those times where I really wish McVay would stop being Belichick.
yeah,
A lot of things they do remind me of the Patriots, where all one voice, everyone says the same thing. They don't give us sound bites. They don't give us rumors. Like nothing comes out of there. But then, like when things are happening and we're just an echo chamber online, it's like, dude, just tell us what happened. Like
right,
just
right.
like come out and say, stop asking us about Matthew Stafford. Like, okay, cool. Or yes, we're trading him because he just isn't playing well. I yeah, if we do trade him, I think that's a situation where we can get somebody to take over Jonah's salary because he's like a starting guard in the league, and I think he's very good.
Yeah.
Um, I don't,
Um,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah. So I just looked it up. We would open up just under $3.5 million by trading him. So it's not a whole lot, but again, if we could trade him to sign Alaric Jackson, and that's why I brought up Jonah Jackson, was
That
because
makes sense.
I want to sign Alaric Jackson, and I think trading Jonah Jackson might help to be able to sign Alaric Jackson. That's
Limmer,
the only reason why I brought that up.
and you can thank Bo Limmer for that a lot. Like he looked
Yeah,
really good. To be able to come along with a veteran quarterback like that in an offense like McVay's as a rookie center, mid-season get thrown to the fire, like that is pretty impressive. Like I really
right.
hope he keeps developing. Um, the next, like the last one I want to ask about re-signing is another one that I felt I see a lot of 50-50 from people. Akella Witherspoon on defense.
I'd like to. I mean, obviously, we need to upgrade the cornerback position and bring in
Yep.
like a lockdown guy. Like, we missed a guy like Jalen Ramsey. We missed a guy like that. But if we could get like an affordable 1 year, maybe 2 year deal, I'd be open to it because he's a good player and he's come up big for us at certain times over the last couple years. So again, I mean, it always comes down to money, but if the deal is right, I would say yes.
I
How do you
like
feel
him.
about that?
No, I do. I see him. No disrespect to Kello. Um, I see him as like a starting corner too.
Yeah,
Maybe not like a star guy. I would like to see Darius Williams maybe flexing in more at like the slot, just because of his
right.
size and probably I won't say speed, but I know he got burned here or there per PFF. And then bring in like a big name. I don't know. They drafts. I personally think they go younger at corner. I think they bring
Yeah,
somebody in, trade for like an underrated guy like they tend to do. So maybe somebody who's unhappy where they are or not performing as well as they maybe their
yeah.
initial draft stock had, or drafting somebody again depending on what they do at tackle.
Hmm.
Um, but I agree. I would like to see a Akello back. He seems to want to be here too because now they brought
Yeah.
him back twice. Um, which kind of brings us into our next topic. And I'm just going to open it up. I had it separated from free agents and trade targets, but I'm just going to open it up. Like,
Okay.
who do
You
you
do it.
who do you who do you want to see come in? Not the draft, current NFL rosters, whether they're free agents or on another team. I
Yes.
have,
Now we're
I have,
talking.
I have three names. So like I think that are realistic for this season, and then we have a fun conversation about a big
Oh, yeah.
position that may not happen this year, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Who do you want to see come in from other teams or free agency potentially?
Do you want me to give you the more realistic
Yeah,
options or
yeah.
the?
Give me realistic. Give me realistic.
All right. Well, we are in the market for a wide receiver two now with Cooper Kupp, going elsewhere. I would say either trade for a guy like Garrett Wilson from the Jets, or go all in and sign a guy like T. Higgins. I think those guys would do so well in our system, and they would absolutely crush it. It would cost a lot,
I'm right there with you.
but um, but for wide receivers, those seem like no brainers. If I mean, for a guy like Garrett Wilson, you'd probably have to give up a first and a third round or something like that. You'd have to give up a lot because he's only like 25. So if you bring him in, you probably expect to have him for at least 5 years. But yeah, those are two guys that I've seen floating around as available, but I'm sure they're going to get a lot of interest from other teams as well. So it'll
They
be
are.
competitive.
T Higgins is like that's the toughest pill to swallow out of those options, I think, just because the cap space he's going to draw. He's going to get paid like a top three receiver, like if not reset the market and get paid in that month in this
Yeah,
offseason of like the highest receiver contract before other people renegotiate. Um, but like if you watch his tape, which I have like a lot this past week, along with these two other guys, imagine what Demarcus Robinson brings to this offense, but just elevated like even
right,
more. Like his catch
right.
radius is ridiculous. He's just
Yeah,
always open. And a lot of people say, oh, it's because of Jamar Chase. Like, no, this guy is
yeah.
ridiculously good.
And
They have two wide receiver ones on that team, and it's pretty crazy that Burrow has that.
yeah, and it's what we've been missing the last couple years is just an explosive wide receiver. Like I know Puka, he could do everything, but we need like a guy who can get down the field quickly, deep ball threat, and it's we had Tutu Atwell, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't utilized enough. And I just think we need that explosive wide receiver who can just get those large gains and everything like that. And so I actually, well, I'm not going to get my hopes up as those two options. I do think we have the cap space and we have the resources to bring in one of those guys. So that's why I feel like it's realistic, even if it's unlikely at the same time.
I feel you, and I'm right there with Garrett Wilson. I'm not going to add too much to that, except for like what trade capital does it take? And if you're people who are unfamiliar with the Jet situation, they now have new head coach Aaron Glenn.
Right.
So despite him being unhappy in New York, seemingly the last month or two, maybe he's re-inspired because of Aaron Glenn. That dude seems like he's going to do great.
Yeah,
I wish the best for him, but it
I
depends what they do
agree.
at quarterback. Like maybe he doesn't love Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? Um, Another one on my list that actually popped up on my radar about a week ago. I didn't realize the situation that was going on there because there are rivals. What would you say to DK Metcalf on the Rams?
I'm for it. I don't think that the Seahawks would trade him to us because it's in
Yeah,
division. They're competing against us, twice a year, and in the division. If they were to cut him, then yeah, let's go after him. I know he's got some like, you know, he kind of has some behavioral issues a little bit, but I feel like you put him with McVay, that can be fixed. He is a big body, huge receiver that I feel like would be perfect in our offense. Again, I don't see that being realistic because there's just no way the
in
Seahawks
division.
would trade him to us. So
It would be like a Cup going to the Niners. I would
yeah,
like I don't know what I would do. I would
yeah,
cry.
I
Um,
don't think that's going to happen. So don't worry. But yeah, I
and it
just
one way a rivalry switch could happen though, and this is actually a note. I think this guy could potentially fit well because he's a good man player. He's a very This is on the cornerback side. Somebody who is going to be a free agent who has pretty vocally said he's not going to go back to San Francisco because they had some personal
Oh,
tragedies, and that being in, I think, California in general, but maybe away from the Bay Area is enough. So if California is off the table, then scratch this. But Travarius Ward, he's
yeah.
going to be a free agent. He's not 30 yet. I
Hmm.
think he's a great player. He's always been a pain in our ass every time we played against him. Um, I would like to see him on a team. Do you have any thoughts towards Ward as a player?
Yeah. I mean, he'd be an upgrade over who we have now at cornerback. So, yeah, absolutely. I guess it just depends on what he's looking for. There's another guy on the 49ers who could fill a position of need. I don't know if it's realistic, but Dre Greenlaw in the middle there would be
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. But I think the 49ers are going to make it a priority to re-sign him.
I don't know. I need to look deeper into their cap situation because they have to pay Purdy this offseason, right? Like this
Yeah.
is the offseason to do it. I know there's ways to play with it, and it seems like everyone's able to somehow fit their quarterback and other players. Um, I'm I know people are worried about his injuries. I'm not too worried about it. I don't know how. Like some guys are just dogs. Like he
Yeah.
seems to kind of just like Fred Warner played with a broken ankle all year.
I
Like
know. That's crazy.
some of these guys are going to play through stuff. And Achilles is just one that you just it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Even Aaron Rodgers looked rough until the last month or so of the season. Um, I would like that him
Yeah.
and Spates.
Oh, be nasty.
That would pretty sick.
It, yeah. I mean, that one is unlikely just because I think the 49ers are really going to make it. Charvarius Ward is much more realistic. Um, but yeah, when
It's
you
just a
start,
Cali thing. I'm
yeah.
trying to remember. I think it was his significant other said going back. I can't remember if she said going back to the Bay or going back to Cali. Like they just don't want to do it anymore. I remember her talking about it.
Oh,
Yeah, so I
okay.
gotta.
I didn't
But
see that.
yeah, they had lost a child, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So wish the best for them. I cannot imagine.
Oh,
But in regards to the trade targets, I'm right there
terrible.
with you. I would
Yeah.
like to see like Garrett Wilson, and then I'll say DK Metcalf is a possibility. Like I don't know if the rivalry is that strong between the two organizations. Like it just doesn't feel like it. Like
Well, yeah. I mean, we play them twice a year, and the Seahawks might feel like they're close because they had the same record as us. We just won the tiebreaker.
yeah,
Although if we played our starters week 18, we would have won. But I'm just saying
agreed.
that they might think they're close. So maybe they don't want to move off of him. But I've seen his name floated around as a possible trade. I don't know his cap situation. I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't even know if he's happy there or what. But I do know that DK Metcalf would be a perfect fit in our offense. I just look at, like I said, I look at the division and I'm just like, I don't see the Seahawks trading within the division like that, especially with a high profile player like him. So
Yeah, to close out the wide receiver talk, I think it'd be safe to say whether they get somebody free agency or trade, if it's a big-ish name, whoever it is going to need a new contract with us. It's going to take top five money. Like, just
mhm.
be ready to stomach that. I think is pretty much the consensus for any team signing a wide receiver this year. One thing I do want to mention, and I'm not a big college football guy. I know you're not. I haven't dove too much into like
Yeah,
draft
me either.
draft stuff. My next guest, I'll kind of announce it here. I'm not sure if you're a fan of Turf Show Times. Blaine Grizek's actually going to come on
Oh
tomorrow,
yeah.
and he's
Oh
going to actually
nice.
he was at the Senior Bowl, so he's going to spit some game at us. He's going to be our
Perfect.
draft expert to fill us in on what we're missing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exciting.
what I do want to ask you though, in the limited stuff I have looked at, because I told you I'm unsure on what happens with Alaric. Like it's going to come down to money, and if the front office thinks, hey, this is our cornerstone guy for the next 4, 5, 6 years. If they don't go that route, how do you feel about a rookie at left tackle protecting for Matthew Stafford? And I got two names that pop off the list that I just loved seeing. Josh Cornelly Jr. out of Oregon.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
super athletic. He had an okay Senior Bowl from what I'm hearing. Great hands, like played well in the Big Ten. And then Kelvin Banks Jr. is my favorite guy out of Texas. Like
Okay.
explosive, like reminds me of like he's just a fucking silverback, bro. Like you watch him make impact on both pass pro and run block. Like you can feel him hitting people. Very athletic for somebody who as big as he is. Um, Without diving too much into draft stock and taking another half hour, how like do you think a rookie like left or right tackle is the direction that we might go, especially in the first round?
It's definitely possible. I think it really comes down to because free agency comes before the draft, like a month or so before. So we'll have by the time the draft rolls around, we'll have a really good idea of what we'll still need. But yeah, I mean, I trust whatever Snead and McVay do. Their track record speaks for itself. I would prefer to try to bring back Alaric Jackson just because of the continuity, the familiarity, that sort of thing. But if he tests the open market and goes somewhere else, I would also feel okay investing a first round pick in a tackle. We've hit recently on Bo Limmer and Steve Avila, and now we need to find that tackle of the future because we know that Rob Havenstein, even if he does come back this season, he is going to be done pretty soon. So that is a position that we need to invest heavily in. So I'm definitely open to it. And you know what? Shoot, even if we do re-sign Alaric Jackson, we should bring in another tackle in the first, or we don't have a second round pick, but the first or third round, just to have some extra depth because of Havenstein, getting injured a lot and stuff. So I'm definitely open to it for sure.
Yeah, it's just so scary because like the outside of the 1-2 punch of franchise changing positions, it seems lately is quarterback and then pass rusher. Look
Right.
at us with Jared Verse, like that
Right.
completely changed the dynamic of the defense, even compared to last year. Um, like that's just a tough spot to put a rookie in and say, hey, let's go win a Super Bowl this year. I think
Right.
that
No, I understand.
if anybody can do it, it's a team led by Matthew Stafford. So similar to you, unfortunately, I have full faith in what McVay and Snead do. I say unfortunately because it's like you're not going to know anything until it happens. There's
Right.
no
Right. They
rumors
don't
to
leak
hope
anything.
for.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'll say about that, it is very reminiscent of the Patriot way, man. Like they
Yeah.
don't like rumors. They don't spill stuff, and it's
It's
admirable.
the it's the we not me kind of attitude. Similar to the Patriots was do your job. Ours is we not me. Like you're gonna come in, get bought in, and work as a team. There's no selfishness on this team, and that's why we're so successful. Or not the only reason, but that's a huge reason why I think we're so successful.
Yeah, I know a lot of teams try to do that, but you got to win first before you can make that
Yeah,
like the official way.
for
Um,
sure.
well, thanks for playing off season with me. And in the last bit that I want to do to kind of close out our conversation today, like we're going to end on just like borderline ridiculousness. That like if you
Okay.
mention this in public to even non-Rams fans, they'd look at you like you're stupid. The post Stafford life. So this is kind of where we bonded
Oh yeah.
initially
Oh yeah.
on our thoughts on because eventually, whether it's this year, 2 years, 5 years, Stafford is going to not be playing football anymore, and
Right.
McVay does have a preference to he loves those number one pick guys.
Yeah.
Who do you lead us off? Who do you think might be a successor to Matthew Stafford
Yeah.
at some point?
Well, well, yeah. So if we don't go in the draft and try to find somebody, which with that you're taking a gamble because you just never know. And so I'm of the mindset of bring in another veteran guy who is maybe disgruntled, upset with his situation, wants to change. Um, so just to start off, you know, I think that Stafford's only going to play one more year. So I think he's going to play for us in 2025 and then move off after that, which the timing of
Same.
that might work out for two players. And this is going to sound crazy for those who maybe have not heard me talk before, but Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, or Trevor Lawrence. And the reason why I say these guys, I know people hearing this, they're like, what? Those teams will never trade them. But think about it. The Bengals are notorious for letting their star players walk in free agency or ask out of trades. Over the years, they're just notorious. They can't keep their guys for whatever reason. If the Bengals lose T. Higgins and potentially Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow in 2 years or a year or so might be like, hey, I want to win. I don't want to go through a rebuild. My time to win is right now. He might ask out, and that would be the perfect time in 2026 for the Rams to be like, all right, here's 3 first round picks and whatever else they need and bring them in. Again, these things are kind of pretty much as close to 0% as you could get, but I wouldn't
Oh,
rule it
oh, my
out.
girlfriend would love that. Like she
Yeah.
loves Joe Burrow more than she will ever root for any
My
team.
wife does too. She loves Joe Burrow. She's had him on on her fantasy team like 2 straight years, and plus I just think he fits the LA vibe. He'd be good for the culture in the
He's so
community. He's a
cool.
likable guy. He's a cool guy. He's got that movie star kind of look, but he's not like cocky. He seems like a humble guy too, but he's got that like movie star look to him.
I hate him.
So
I hate him. I hate him and love him. Like I love watching him play. Like he is
yeah,
phenomenal. But it's like, oh, I'm handsome and I'm good at like, oh, look at me,
yeah,
I'm Joe Burrow.
yeah.
Like, thanks, dude. Like,
But I think it just depends. If he loses some of his guys, I could see a scenario, not this offseason, but maybe next offseason where he's like, I'm done, guys. Like, I appreciate everything, but I'm looking for a change. And that timing might work out because I really think Stafford's only going to play 1 more year, even if we give him a 2 year contract. Um, and then another possibility, this is not, I mean, Joe Burrow is a little bit more realistic than this option, is Josh Allen.
yeah,
Josh Allen, and the reason why I say this too, I even made a video on it, is I think I saw him on the sidelines after the Bills lost to the Chiefs yet again. I think it's like the 4th time in the last 5 years that they've
he's
lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs.
the postseason. Postseason, yeah,
It's so defeating. It's got to be so defeating. And I know he loves Buffalo and he seems like a loyal guy, but let's say they can't get over the hump next season. He might be like, hey, listen, guys, my best shot at going to a Super Bowl is playing for an NFC team. That might be another guy. He grew up about
yeah.
3.5 hours away from LA, so not directly in the LA area, but close enough where his friends and family could come to games. He's engaged to like an actress, Haley Steinfeld. I don't know much about her, but I know she's an actress, and I just he might, but all that stuff aside, he might be like wanting to
I'll
go to an NFC team. But
I'll add to that too, and I've watched it like outside of just his preferences and what he would want to do. I think another thing to consider too, if they can't get over the hump, even not the Chiefs, but say they have an early exit in the playoffs next season,
right,
who's to say if McDermott stays as the coach?
right,
Like we've seen teams that for some reason they think, okay, going to the playoffs is not good enough. Let's fire our coach, and a new coach can get us to the Super Bowl if that's their goal and not just money. I
right,
know some teams aren't serious about winning games, um, like a la the San Diego Chargers when they still were in San Diego, getting rid of Marty Schottenheimer just
right,
because, hey, losing in I think it was a 14-2 season and they canned him. Like, what's to say
yeah,
that can't happen there? You go 0-5 against the Chiefs. Your head coach is out the way. You're going through a rebuild. Hey, I just send me somewhere. I want out of
right,
here. Like that is a potential. And same with Cincinnati. Like I'll chime in
right,
there. Yes, next to zero. A lot of things have to happen a certain way that are very
right,
unfortunate for two different organizations. But who else? Like, let's say those things happen. Who else besides fuck them picks, Les Snead, is
right,
willing to go get a quarterback that his head coach believes in? And then I know there's a third one that I think is a lot more realistic that
right.
isn't crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all. And I'll lead it off, but they already have a new head coach that his
Yes.
opening presser is not is not a confidence building. Like hopefully he's
I know
just
where you're going with this.
I know he's just having fun and being goofy. But there's a first round pick that is already on a new contract, but he's underperformed, quote unquote. He's gone through multiple head coaches. He's
Right.
on a franchise that God knows what the hell they're going to ever do to ever win. Trevor Lawrence, like who's to
Yeah.
say? Even if they do have some success, but maybe they just don't believe in Trevor Lawrence being their guy, or he does one out like the other two
Yeah.
guys. I mean, what calm sunshine? Like he's made for the California weather. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. He
come on.
just post up in Malibu, which is not too far from the practice facility. And yeah, that one's a little more realistic just because the Jaguars have gone through multiple head coaches, multiple rebuilds. Yeah, they won a playoff game a couple years ago, but haven't had the playoff success that like the Bengals and the Bills have had recently. Um, he's younger. I think he's like 26 or something like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, first off, I am surprised that, well, I guess I'm not surprised that the Jaguars signed Liam Cohen, but all these people are hyping him up. I think that's a bad hire for them because he was our offensive coordinator in 2022 when we had all those injuries, and he was awful. Like Sean McVay showed him the door after one season, and I'm surprised that all it took was like 2 years later for him to get a head coach. But besides
Yeah.
that that aside, I could definitely see a scenario where Trevor Lawrence, in a year or two is like, guys, like I need a change. And the Rams are one of those teams, and not to gloat about our team too much, but it's true. McVay is kind of a QB whisperer. He's really good at rehabbing guys' careers. Like look what he did with Baker. He got Baker like back on track. He got Stafford to reach a whole new elite level. He even, when he first came in, made Jared Goff a respectable quarterback. Who's to say that he can't do that and bring out the most out of a guy like Trevor Lawrence? And the Jaguars have just been kind of a dysfunctional organization
Mm.
over, really over the
Ever.
last 10 years or so. I guess 8 years or so. Most of their history, but I guess
Forever,
in
yeah.
re-
Seems like
yeah,
it.
a few NFC championship or AFC championship game appearances, but for the
Yeah.
most part, dysfunctional and you know, so I could see that. I know he hasn't lived up to the hype. When he was at Clemson, he was supposed to be like the next generationally great QB. But if there's one head coach that I feel like could really bring out the most in Trevor Lawrence, it's Sean McVay. And he's still young, and that one seems more realistic. But, all of those guys are kind of in situations now where it's like, if they keep falling short, if their teams keep falling short over the next season or two, they might ask for a change. So,
I don't, and I brought up this conversation because like all things sound stupid and like, oh
yeah,
well, if I
they
can't get it
sound
done in
crazy.
Madden, and then we just saw in a different sport, but like yeah, Luka gets traded for Anthony Davis overnight. It's like
Right.
if a team wants to do it, they're going to find a way to make it happen.
Right. Yeah, that trade, the Luka Anthony Davis trade, is a reminder to everybody, not just in sports, but in your professional lives in general, that no matter how great you are at your job, you can always be moved on. You can always be let go or move to another department or whatever it
Expendable.
might be. Expendable, that's the word I was looking for. No matter how good, even if the chances are small, you can always be moved on. A company can always move on from you, and it's just, yeah. So that's why while like a guy like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are probably like 0.05%, never say never. And whereas maybe like a Trevor Lawrence is like 10 to 15%. Just we saw what happened with Luca and AD. It's always a possibility, and it could line up perfectly where Stafford retires in a year or two. These guys are looking for new opportunities, and the Rams come in and get one of them. Just
My that's a wonderful like real life comparison. You're absolutely right. My football analogy to all those to remind people like how serious this conversation could be. Like we could be here in 12 months having this conversation about
right.
one of these guys being a Rams quarterback. Uh, the Colts at one point cut Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And then he went and broke records the next year. Tom Brady did move on from the Patriots. Like
Won a Super Bowl. Won
Brett
another Super
Favre
Bowl.
played for the Vikings at one
Yeah,
point. I feel like
yeah,
people forget
and the
about that.
Jets.
So,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
Jets. So things are not as crazy as you think. Let them play out. But thank you for playing What If with me. This is probably my
yeah.
most fun conversation.
Well, I'll just finish off with the what if. What I tell people all the time on my TikTok lives and in my videos and everything is the NFL, especially more so than a lot of professional sports leagues, things change so much in this league year over year. If you would have told me 6 months ago that the Rams would just be willing to trade Cooper Kupp, I would have called you crazy. But things change a lot in the NFL year over year
hmm
that we can't predict what things are going to look like in February or March of 2026. We just don't know. And so that's why when I bring up this stuff, it may sound crazy now, but a year from now, it might not sound quite as crazy. So, um,
If one of these happens, I will be calling you immediately for lottery ticket
yeah.
numbers, and we're splitting that shit down the middle.
I will jump up and down at Ralph's or wherever it is when I get the notification. It's, you know, it's and again, this is only when Stafford retires. I don't want to make it seem like I want to move off of
Oh,
Stafford. I
oh
I
no,
love Stafford.
ride or die.
Stafford gives us the best chance right now to win a Super Bowl. I'm talking about a year or two from now when Stafford would potentially hang it up. Because
You
I,
know,
I
you know what
I
they
do
say.
think he only has 1 year left. So
Never let your girlfriend get in the way of helping you find your wife. That's the NFL. The NFL comparison to that. Well, sir, my fellow Rams creator, my fellow Rams lover. Um, yeah, for everybody who missed, I don't know if you skipped the beginning, but where can they find you? Where do you want them to go find you at? And then send us off with a message for Rams fans.
yeah, I know there's a lot of Rams fans right now nervous about and sad and upset about Cooper Kupp. For sure being moved on, and you know things right now still not fully certain about Stafford. I want everyone to calm down. Les Snead and Sean McVay have an excellent track record, and sometimes they make moves where you're like, what are they doing? But then we look back 6 months to a year down the road and we're like, okay, they knew what they were doing in that situation. And just continuing on with Cooper Kupp, as crazy as this is to sound right now, because of what he's meant for our organization and the city of LA and just the type of guy he is, I'm looking at it from a business and just team structural perspective. I believe that trading Cooper Kupp right now will ultimately make the team better. And I know that sounds crazy, but the reason why I say that is trading him would open up cap space to bring in another younger wide receiver who can kind of stay healthy and on the field more consistently, as well as potentially fill in other needs. It's a financial thing, and
Yeah.
from as a fan, I am devastated. But when I look at this team competing now and a few years into the future, I think right now is the best time to make this type of move, and the Rams are the type of team to kind of make a move a year early. I've said that to people. They've looked at me like I'm crazy, but I just, when we traded Jalen Ramsey, I was pissed. I made an instant reaction video, like calling out Les Snead, but looking back, that trade led to us getting Byron Young and opened up cap
Why?
space. Yeah. So we got to let things play out here. And so I just want everyone to I know there's a lot of people panicking, a lot of the Ramley panicking. I've seen the moves that Snead and McVay have made over the last 5 years, and we just got to let things play out.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of message I want to send. And then you can find me. I go by the name of LA Rams Superfan on social media. My main account is on TikTok. That's where I do a lot of TikTok lives multiple times a week. I post all my videos there. But I'm also on Instagram. I just created a YouTube account a couple weeks ago. Blue Sky as well. All under just at LA Rams Superfan, all one word. You can find me there.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you haven't seen me before, you'll learn. I talk about everything. I post multiple times a week. It's so yeah, come check me out.
It's a credit to you, man, because anybody who does the daily stuff, I have a lot of respect for, because it's you got to be on top of it and not late.
Yeah.
So please, all my followers, go give them a follow on your preferred social media, preferably TikTok and probably Instagram second. At LA Rams Superfan. It's going to be here at the bottom of the screen. Sir, it's been a pleasure. Thanks talking Rams with me. And hopefully have you back again. Maybe we'll do some mock draft stuff or something else fun. But keep stacking, keep building, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Tuna, for having me. I really appreciate it. Just glad we can hop on and just talk all things Rams. So thank you again for for having me.
Hell yeah, man. We'll do it again soon. To everybody,
for sure.
Peace.
All right, go Rams.